persuade her by offering to continue the search on his own. Why is it playing the storyteller? In further news... Oh god, he died! Before dawn today, a police officer on patrol discovered a man collapsed in a Sumida City Park. Uh-oh. The man was taken to the hospital, but his death was confirmed shortly after. Investigations are still underway, but police suspect a connection to the other unexplained deaths found in the area at around the same time. Darn. Why did we drown? Oh, to be fair, that's how the game began, wasn't it? It's not over. No, I know it's not over. Because I only know because it's been 2 hours, and when I've looked up how long the game is, people are usually playing it for like 10 hours, so... But to be fair, that does explain what actually happened, because before we started playing as Shogo, it even said that he drowned, so... That's the sad thing, though, is it... He had to die. It never ends. Well done on your efforts thus far. This brings Shogo Okiie to a close. But this is not the end. Far from it. In fact, this is where the story finally begins. The roots of the 3 protagonists have now been unlocked. Ah! Is it Haru Shigima? A woman who lost her son when he was kidnapped and murdered. Jesus! Oh! Tetsuo Satsumi, the chief inspector of the 1st Investigative Division, who is looking into the death of an officer in the line of duty. Yako Sakazaki, a high school girl who wants to bring her friend back from the dead, a girl who died in a suspicious suicide. Each of them is burdened with circumstances that leave them no choice but to seek the Rite of Resurrection. Following these 3 storylines will reveal the full nature of all that is occurring. With that, please enjoy the continuation of this tale. This game is awesome. It's really good. Ah, there's the detective! I especially like the whole go into your options and change the voice setting. It makes sense though, because there is no voice. Yeah, there's no voice. Like, nothing in the game is voiced. But it's just really neat. I'm gonna put it back to 10 though. So... Haru... Yeah, I think it's just Haru. Shigima. Not dreams. When the son of Haru Shigima was kidnapped, a botched investigation by the police resulted in the child's murder. 1 year later, Haru has hired a private investigator to help resolve the unsettled case. Late at night, while speaking to the detective at her home, something strange suddenly appears. Also, I wouldn't really say this is much of a horror game. Not really. Kill them. The flame bearers. Kill them all. You have acquired the power of the Curse Stone, the Haunting Clappers. You can use it to kill those with fire or a fire starting device on their person. So that's why. The music in this game's really good. Oh god. Kills by burning one who is in possession of fire or a fire starting device. Yeah, the game's not a super... It's not much of a horror game. Like, Deathmark is definitely more of a horror game. It certainly started off strong in the horror department, though. Red, red, red. Everything has dyed crimson, my home is burning to the ground. It's hot, so hot. I must call for help, but I cannot speak. My throat must be burned up from the smoke, now I think I'm already on fire. That's right, I'll just use the clappers. Clack clack, is anybody there? Clack clack, why is no one coming? I'm gonna burn to death, how did it come to this? Oh right, her. It must be the work of that vixen who appeared suddenly and enchanted my lord. That witch. Those hauntingly cold eyes had my lord dancing in the palm of her hand. Perhaps I was also taken in by her. How many innocent people did I lure in under orders? This must be karma. The sound of a heavy bell. It feels like my head will split open. Ah, right, the evening bell. That must be why nobody can hear the sound of my clappers. I've got to do it louder. Clack, clack. Okay. The murderous impulse seeps into my soul like a thick black tar. Kill them. Can you hear it, Cursebearer? You who so strongly desires the right. Kill them. Yeah. Bada. Reception room. Back with me, ma'am. There he is. Can't say I understand what just happened, but it certainly seems to have put you in a good mood. This might be the first time I've ever seen you really smile. Sweet dreams are made of these. Person of interest. Oh, right, we actually learn about them. Oh my goodness. That's a lot of words. Her 11-year-old son, Shuichi, was kidnapped and murdered about a year ago. The death was the result of a mistake on the part of the detective assigned to the case, a mistake which enraged the kidnapper and had him cut off all contact with the police, leaving no room for negotiation. The incident was covered up, and Shuichi's killer remains at large, leading the aggrieved Haru to call on the services of private investigator Richter Kai to uncover the truth. The Shigima family came from a line of samurai who built their residence in Honjo, during the Edo period. They assumed important positions in the police force following the Meiji Revolution, thereby protecting their family's elevated status. Even today, many in the Shigima line work as police bureaucrats and senior police officers. Haru's father sits in the upper echelons of the National Police Agency, and her husband, adopted into the Shigima clan through an arranged marriage, is also a highly respected agency official. However, as her family prioritizes work above all else, it wasn't long before Haru's marriage grew cold. Though she wants for nothing, she is isolated from her neighbors and withdrawn from society. Seeing her son grow into a young man gave Haru a purpose in life, but it was cut short by the kidnapping incident. Following the incident, Haru spent many days in a deep depression, breaking into sudden fits of shouting and wandering around in the middle of the night. Her cheerful, loving disposition faded away, and she took to making snide remarks at her husband, which only further soured their relationship. A few months ago, Haru's husband was transferred to another area for work and now rarely returns home, with Haru left to live in a large, empty mansion alone. As a housekeeper who has been with the family for a long time comes in to take care of all the housework, Haru has nothing but time on her hands. No. Not dreams. Sounds like something I might want to hear about. Ooh. An old hanging scroll. I don't know who painted it. It's been hanging here since before I was born. A fax machine. It can send images to other places along the telephone network. I don't really know how it works. Most houses don't have one. I rarely find a use for it. Richter Guy. A private investigator I hired. A friend told me about him. They said he's not very well known, but he's good at what he does. When I first visited his office in Ota City and saw how he dressed, I could hardly believe he was a detective. But after talking to him for a while, I changed my mind. He says some strange things at times, but he seems like a reliable sort. Oh. Ah, god. Damn it. Richter is actually a private investigator with an office in Ota City, Tokyo. After taking a request from Haru Shigima to investigate the unsolved kidnapping and murder of her son, he gets caught up in the events surrounding the Rite of Resurrection. Once a police officer, Richter was racked with guilt over the police's inability to help all those in need, and quit the force to start his own private investigation firm. However, his soft-hearted nature leads him to take on too many cases and has put his office in dire financial straits. How he is still in business is a mystery, with some whispering that a wealthy patron is keeping him afloat. Richter studied alongside Detective Jun Erio at the police academy. Somewhat surprisingly, given his outlandish clothing and mannerisms, Richter excels at covert investigations and tailing his targets, proudly refers to himself as an investigator extraordinaire, though that only ever succeeds at impressing himself. Richter's biggest source of happiness is nuzzling his pet female albino parakeet, Ernestine, which he keeps in his office. He also enjoys collecting Mockingbird stickers or popular line merchandise featuring birds inexplicably dressed like delinquents. I could be frequently cited researching around town for them. While out and about, Richter typically leaves the office, and more importantly, Ernestine, in the care of Amamori, a junior high schooler who volunteered to assist Richter after being involved in a previous case. Oh my god. Ah, the Azor Heron Agency, Richter Kai's private investigation firm in Kamata, Ota City. Originally Kai thought to give it a simple name like Kai's Detective Agency, KDA. But upon hearing that people are more likely to pick names listed at the front of the phone book, alphabetically, he decided, to pick a name starting with an A, thus the Azor Heron Agency was established. However, it is questionable whether the heron, the bird of somewhat ominous significance, is an effective symbol for attracting customers. Even his own assistant has referred to the name as confusing at best. After all, rather than an Azor Heron, Rick keeps a white parrot as a pet, and dresses not in blue, but mostly in white. If there was a symbolic connection to be made here, it has surely been lost on all but Richter himself. A private investigator, also known as a private eye, is a detective who operates their own agency. Although there are no formal qualifications necessary to become a private investigator, many retired police agents or detectives due to the similarities between the work involved. At a glance, private investigation firms and inquiry offices might look similar, but they carry out different types of investigations. Inquiry offices specialize in conducting credit checks on businesses, while private investigators are generally involved in tailing persons of interest and gaining information surreptitiously. Oh, what a fancy word. My throat is starting to hurt, which is not surprising because this game is very text-heavy, as is tradition with visual novels. Let me bring you up to speed. We were in the middle of a chat when you suddenly started spacing out, and the whole time you were grinning to yourself like you'd just won the lottery. Well, she has. Care to tell me what that was all about? Well, where to start? I'm cursed. I can kill people. Interesting. Very interesting. So the Haunting Clapper's curse echo appeared out of nowhere. Told you how to perform the Rite of Resurrection and gave you the curse you'll need to do it. Have I got that right? That's right. So it's all real. Honestly, I still find it hard to believe. But I guess I have to now. Oh, I saw that curse stone appear in your hand myself. It looked like it popped clean out of thin air. With evidence that clear, there's no denying that there's some supernatural force at work. True. Guest? Oh, guest table. The guest table. I don't know where Father got this old thing from, but I've never liked it. Alright, let's have a chat. I don't think you quite understand. Oh? This isn't about evidence, and it isn't about belief. It's more than that. I know it's real. I don't like the looks she has on her face. The moment the curse appeared, I knew everything before it even said a word. It was already there in my head, as clear as day. You just knew, huh? It was etched onto my soul, along with the curse echoes resentful memories. So I can feel it, what it was like. Dying like they did hundreds of years ago. Wreathed in flame, writhing in pain as my flesh blackens and my blood boils. I can feel it. All the agony, all the rage. It fills me with bloodlust. It's not a good thing. I think I need to kill someone. Anyone will do, just as long as they're carrying fire. You see, that could be a problem. You think so? From what I know of you, I was sure you'd see it as an opportunity. The stronger the desire to resurrect someone, the stronger the urge to kill. That's how it seems to me, anyway. Good grief, talk about a spanner in the works. I say we take stock for a moment, remind ourselves where we've come from and where we're going. That might be a good idea. I wonder if the first person we kill is Haru is going to be Shogo. That'd be interesting. Rotary phone! The telephone. This mansion has a private line. Is there anything else? An arrangement of flowers. We bring in someone to do it. I don't even know what the flowers are called. Stereo unit with separated speakers designed for home use. My husband insisted on buying one. even though he isn't one to listen to music often. What is that? Well, I'll be damned. Is that the mockingbird? Is that what I think it is? Goodness, you made me jump. It's just a silly sticker my son got from somewhere or other. We put it up just before. Well, you know what happened. Still can't bring myself to take it down. Let me take a closer look. I knew it. It's Head Hencho. From way back in set number 1. This is a real collector's item. Excuse me? Don't tell me you've never heard of the mockingbirds. What? They're the hottest new craze. Cute little birds dressed up like rough and tumble delinquents. I've never heard of them, but this certainly seems to matter to you. The best part is, nobody knows who made them. They just started showing up around town. And soon enough, they'd won everybody's hearts. The story goes that they're made by some anonymous artist who covertly leaves them behind in specific locations. No one knows when or where they'll show up next. They're basically an urban legend of sorts. They think one would turn up here of all places. This is a good sign, I'm sure of it. Oh well, that's nice. Okay, mockingbird number 1. Oh my god, there's loads. But these popular bird mascot stickers seem to pop up everywhere. Nobody knows who the legendary artist is behind these quirky birds. But they quickly became popular for their surreal yet oddly cute designs. Be in the right place at the right time in Honjo and you might be able... Pardon me. And you might just be able to find all 20 of them scattered around. Legend has it, collecting them all will bring good luck. Approach the net. A bottom shelf surrounded by darkness. Jackpot. Look up at the first house, late at night on the way home, among the morning green. You won the lottery in the bright garden. Detectives and private eyes. Okay. Wait, what's popped up here? Ah, the mockingbirds. Okay. Alright, cool. I did not think that was going to be something important. A television! A colour television. Father bought one as soon as it hit the market. He likes to have the latest gadgets. Unlike the latest models, there is no remote control. We've had it for a long time. Back when it was new, we all gathered around it and marvelled at it as a family. But with Father and my husband being away so often, it quickly fell into disuse. About the investigation. That's what you hired me for, ma'am. To look into your son's kidnapping last year. To uncover the truth behind the abduction and murder of Shuichi Shigima. Oh yes, I remember. I never did find the one who did it. That's what I'm here. That's what I'm here about today. In fact, kind of you to let me drop by so late, by the way. I've been turning over every last stone, and I've come up with a grand total of 0 clues. Oh, 1 lead, so you said. As far as the police are concerned, it's a cold case, but I've managed to make some headway. I remember you were just about to tell me. Oh. A kidnapping and murder case that took place in Honjo, Sumida around 1 year ago. Haru Shigima's son, Shuichi, aged 11, was kidnapped on his way home from school with a ransom being demanded that same evening. Initially, the kidnapping was thought of as a simple extortion scheme, but when it came to light that the Shigima family was closely tied to the police, and Shuichi was in fact the grandson of a senior official, it was quickly assumed that the perpetrator was acting upon a grudge against the police force. The kidnapping was treated as a direct attack against the good name of the police, and a large-scale investigation was launched that used the best equipment available to trace phone calls. This made it all the more embarrassing when they were unable to catch the culprit. Losing the public confidence, the culprit grew cocky, relentlessly mocking the police force. After 3 days of failure after failure, Haru reached a breaking point. Spurred by concern for her son, she resolved to hand over the ransom money as fast as possible, but her husband and father, who held the prestige of the police in high regard, refused, saying that they would not let the criminal win by giving in to their demands. The increasingly frantic detective assigned to the case lost his temper when the criminal called to give an ultimatum, causing the culprit to never make contact again. Another week passed and Shuichi's body was found floating in the Sumida River. Shuichi's death could be largely ascribed to the police's incompetence, but this was ultimately covered up with stringent media embargoes. The investigation was never closed, but the case has long gone cold. Persons of interest. Shuichi Shigima. The only son of Haru Shigima, he was kidnapped and murdered 1 year ago. His body was discovered floating in the Sumida River. Shuichi was a conscientious, brave young boy who was determined to protect his mother, Haru, amid his father's frequent absences. He dreamed of becoming a police officer and displayed diligence and an impressive sense of responsibility from a young age, likely due to being raised in an extremely strict environment. Born in the early 70s, he spent his days immersed in various activities and studies, including playing piano, learning the abacus, taking English lessons, and training in kendo. Shuichi's tendency to put other people's needs over his own meant he died without ever telling his classmates how much he longed for them all to go out on a hunt for mockingbird stickers. Aww. Wait, he was born in the 70s, which means this puts this in, like, the mid-80s. Okay. So, if I think. My heart's still racing. This isn't my chance at long last. You know, we still need to figure out exactly what you want me to do. Tell you what, why don't I tell you what I found and then we can make a decision. Alright. Kidnapping. I suppose there's not much point going over the kidnapping itself. No, I'm very familiar. Then I'll leave that for the files to cover and just confirm a few things about the case. The police trace the culprit's calls back to, let's see here, Northern Oyoko River here in Sumida City. That's quite a wide area. That's right. In the end, they never managed to nail down exactly where the calls were coming from, but it was almost certainly the same location that Shuichi was being held captive, since Shuichi's voice could be heard during the killer's calls. Northern Oyoko River is quite a distance from Shuichi's normal school commute, factoring in that he was seen at school but went missing before he arrived at his house. It's likely that he was abducted by car on his route home. Maybe, but exactly. Shuichi was a clever boy. He never would have gotten into a car with a stranger. That's right. I was very firm about that. I know he understood too. I even saw him warning the other children. It's possible that they forced him into the car. The only issue there is, there weren't any witnesses to the kidnapping. You can't bundle someone into a car with that many students around and not be noticed. But nobody came forward to say they saw anything suspicious. So did they target him at some other time or somewhere away from his usual route? Both of those seem a little far-fetched. Which raises the question, how did the kidnapper pull it off? The police never managed to find an answer. In the end, they decided that the kidnapper must have just gotten lucky. Well, why not turn the problem on its head? The Rite of Resurrection, huh? I read about that in an occult magazine the other day. Apparently some old book showed up recently with all the gory details, and they say that the rite can be found somewhere in Honjo. I remember the first time you told me about that. It felt like my prayers had been heard, like I had hope, real hope, for the first time. Ever since that awful day, I've wondered. What if I hadn't sent him to school? What if I just paid the ransom? Not a day goes by when I don't think that if I'd done something differently, Shuichi would still be alive. You can't blame yourself, ma'am. It was the culprit's fault, not yours. Though I know that won't help any. Grief is funny like that. I'm guessing that's why you're after the rite. Guess I didn't need to ask, it's written all over your face. I can tell how much he meant to you. But, and this is a big but, if this rite is the real deal, using it will mean killing someone and stealing their soul. Is that a problem? If it comes to that, I'm afraid I'll have to stop you. Oh, that's a shame. A shame, huh? That's all? I thought if I'm going to be competing with the other curse bearers, then your detective skills might come in useful. You realise you're talking about ending someone's life, right? Don't you see an issue with that? I think any parent in my position would happily kill for a chance like this. And so, is it? Dear oh dear, what have I gotten myself into? Kidnapper managed to convince Shuichi to get into the car, but how? The only thing that makes sense to me is if there was somebody that he would have a reason to trust. A teacher perhaps, or a relative, or somebody else that knew him. But all of the adults Shuichi knew had alibis. The police checked them all thoroughly. They did, huh? No one threw his numbers at a problem like the cops. But what if it wasn't someone he knew, or rather... what if the culprit disguised himself as a police officer? That would explain why he didn't find them suspicious. The Shikima family has close ties with the police after all. He would have had a reason to trust them. You may be right, but surely they couldn't have. Well, there's a problem with the theory. You'd be surprised how much police officers stand out. That's sort of the point after all. They're meant to be a visible deterrent against crime. But here's another interesting little bit of trivia I happen to know. When you ask people to imagine someone suspicious, nobody pictures women or children. Even kids who've been warned about stranger danger often subconsciously expect that danger to look like an adult man. Besides, Shuichi was the sort of boy who wanted to be a police officer when he grew up. He must have had a very strong sense of right and wrong. That's right, Wait, surely you can't mean... Now you're getting it. If, say, a young woman approached Shuichi asking for help, what would he have done? If someone like that said they were lost and asked him for directions, would he have gotten into a car? He might have. My husband always told him that a man had a duty to watch out for women and children. You could certainly argue that kind of attitude is outdated nowadays. But if Shuichi believed that, then we might have something here. And you think the culprit was a young woman? What if it was a man's voice on the phone? She might have been an accomplice, or maybe she didn't even realise she was being used. If anything, that would explain why she hasn't come forward. She herself might not realise she had anything to do with the case. So the question is, did anybody see Shuichi speaking with a young woman on the day of his disappearance? See what I said about people's biases, that goes for witnesses too. And I figured that maybe if I started asking new questions I might get some new answers. So I spent my day asking around Shuichi's school, our school route, seeing if anyone had seen something. And one man thought he had. You mean he saw it happen? Well, I can't say that for sure yet. It turned out he wanted something from me, so he asked if we could talk in private. When did you hear? Several hours earlier. Alright, this should do. There's no one around, we can speak in confidence. Excuse me, what was your name again? Oh, what? Janucci. Got it, well Janucci, I'm all ears. Just so we're on the same page. You're a private detective investigating Shuichi Shigima's kidnapping, do I have that right? Of course. What else do I look like? How should I know what a private detective looks like? Ah, forget it. Look, I'll tell you straight. My life is in danger. I need your help. You'll excuse me if that caught me a little off guard. Let me ask you straight. Who is trying to kill you? A student called Michio Shiraishi. Interesting. A schoolgirl, eh? Sounds like you've been naughty. It's nothing like that. That girl, she's a murderer. I'm the only one who knows, but I saw what she did. Michio Shiraishi. I saw her kidnap Shuichi Shigima. Come again? I saw her talk to him on the street and led him away. I'll lead him away. I didn't think much of it at the time, but then he went missing. She murdered him, I'm sure of it, or at least she's got something to do with it. That's what you're here for, isn't it? Then you can't let her get to me. If that's true, you've been sitting on some valuable information. Why didn't you tell anybody? Well, you see, if you can't explain that, I don't have a reason to believe you. I couldn't. She told me she'd kill me if I spoke a word. You're telling me a schoolgirl had you scared for your life? So you've been sitting on this all this time? And you think she's coming for you now that you've spilled the beans? Yeah, that's it, exactly. I'm begging you, don't let her get me. Arrest her, I'm telling you, she's a demon. Well, you seem to believe what you're saying, but it doesn't add up. How could a schoolgirl have a fully grown man so terrified? You don't know what she can do. She'll curse me. Curse you? I'm sorry, but you're losing me here. It's true, her house, it's... forget it, why do I even bother? You seem dubious enough to believe me, but I should have known you'd never understand. Enough, I'll find somebody else to help me. Hey. How weird. And that's about the long and short of it. I can hardly believe it. At the time I thought his mention of curses was just crazy talk, but I'm starting to see that there might have been more to it. And if we can just find that girl, curse or no curse, if she was with Shuichi on the day of the kidnapping, then there's a good chance she knows something. On top of that, I did some digging on the man I spoke to. His full name's Kohei Janucci. He's a teacher at Kamagata High School here in Sumida. A teacher? Then this schoolgirl? Is one of his students. I think that's very likely. Oh. I see. At last we got a lead. Hopefully it'll be the breakthrough we're looking for. Right, so that's the end of that. I didn't realise there was more to it. Right, the Rite of Resurrection. If it makes you uncomfortable, then you won't have to get any blood on your hands yourself. I don't need you to kill the other curse bearers. I only need you to find them. I won't be party to murder, ma'am. Not even for a client. I'll pay you. How much can I give you to change your mind? Sorry, ma'am, but not everyone has a price. I've got my policies and I stick to them. I see. I didn't realise you were so stubborn. Let me say, though, it's not like I don't get what you're going through. As long as you're not killing anyone with your own hands, maybe I can help you out. What do you have in mind? Well, how about stealing someone else's curse stone after they filled it with soul drugs? If that was all you were after, then I could lend you my services guilt-free. If the other curse bearers want to kill each other, that's their business. I'm not trying to be a hero here. I guess there's no guarantee a stolen curse stone will work, but we can worry about that later. Well then I suppose we have a deal. Although, what if I stole a curse stone using my curse? Would you disapprove? That would void our contract, ma'am. Just warning you now. Bye. Right, so about the investigation. You know, we still need to figure out exactly what you want me to do. Oh. About my curse.